Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As our great masters of ceremony said, my name is Tyson Avery, and I'm a reserve officer in the United States Marine Corps. I grew up in Paso Robles, and I consider the North County of San Luis Obispo my home. I was blessed to serve on active duty for a little less than 10 years, and during that time I lived in 5 different states, from the West Coast to New England, to the Midwest to the South. And in all my time and in all my travels, there is no place I have ever lived that is more patriotic or more devoted to the military than the North County of San Luis Obispo. And each and every one of you here today is an example of that patriotism and dedication, and for that I am sincerely thankful. But you know, it must be difficult being here on the Central Coast. And the reason being, and I thought about this as I was preparing for my time with you all today, that we're quite a bit of distance from any major military installation. Well, sure, we have Camp Roberts and we have Camp San Luis, but there's really not that much of an opportunity to engage with today's men and women that serve on the active duty component of the armed forces. And so it really made me think. And for those of you who have heard on the news or have read in the paper some things that make you wonder about today's men and women that are serving, that maybe you have concerns that we don't stand for the same principles or have the same character as those tremendous men and women that have come before us. I want each and every one of you to walk away from this ceremony today knowing that there is no difference. There is absolutely no difference in the valor, patriotism, fidelity, or commitment of this generation's armed services. And it is just the same commitment as those that have come before us. And to emphasize this point, I would like to read to you all 2 letters today that come from a hero that is on that last plaque that's marked Global War on Terror. A young man by the name of Specialist Michael Mihalakis, United States Army. You see, Specialist Mihalakis was just as part of the Central Coast and this county as any one of us here today. His father, George, grew up in Arroyo Grande, and his mother, Diana, was from Pismo. And this place is a special place for the Mihalakis family, because just a couple yards down the road, his aunt and uncle and cousins live on Azucena Street. And during the summers, Michael would play here at Lake Atascadero. And while this memorial was not here while he was a little boy, it is almost a certainty that he stood where we all here stand today. And so just like other service members, when we have a little downtime, we have a tendency to write home. And it's with the time that I have today that I'd like to share 2 of those letters that Michael wrote to his family. The first one was about two months into his deployment into Iraq, and it's dated June 6th of 2003. Mom and Dad, you have spent 18 years providing me with everything I ever wanted and needed. As college education is very important, it doesn't say anything that it has to be financed by my parents who have already spent countless dollars to get me where I am. You have both worked beyond what is expected of 2 parents and deserve to enjoy what you have worked for. Secondly, I've gotten a gift. I have learned that my military experience is much more valuable than I would have thought before entering. 90% of the GIs that I've talked to have a story of what a horrible childhood they've had. To this day, about 25 Joes later, nobody has told me that they had a childhood that they could even hold a candle to mine. I'm not talking about wealth, something much more important. Simply being raised by 2 people who love each other more and more every day. I have always said you're only as good as your parents, and let me tell you, there's a big difference between someone raised by parents who love each other and someone raised by parents who did not. I am a product of my parents, and the English language has failed to describe how thankful I am for the parents of who you are. Before I left for basic, I told you guys I lived a life of little, if any, adversity. I thrived on the need to experience adversity and hardship to become a man I want to be. My lesson in adversity and hardship is something that can't be priced and is the ultimate reason why I want to stay rather than go home from Iraq early. Whatever happens will happen, but in the end, as much as I hate it here, this is where I want to be. Mike died 6 months later, Camp Victory in Iraq on December 26, 2003. Mike was a pretty squared away young man that, although most men and women have a tendency to write letters when they're deployed, Michael wrote a letter before he left. And it was a letter that he wrote just in case something were to happen to him, just so that he could have that last remark and that last goodbye to his parents. He put it in a safe deposit box and he gave it to his aunt, Athena, who is here today. So 5 days after he passed in Iraq, Athena brought this letter to his mother and father. And it is with the family's permission and with great humility, I would like to read that to you all here today. To my beloved parents, if you are reading this, then this should only mean one thing. Our family is enduring one of the most painful things we've ever seen. Sometime before reading this letter, you got word that I gave the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty as a military police officer in the United States Army. All in the name of protecting and defending the world's greatest nation, the United States of America. I can promise you that I would not give my life for any other cause, and that I am honored to have been able to make such a sacrifice to protect my family and many families like us throughout our country. Everyone sooner or later has a part in this world, and it makes me proud to know that I left while protecting the United States. 18 years is such a young age, and you're probably thinking of all the things that I'm going to miss out on. Don't. I got to live such a wonderful life because of the two of you, and because of that, I don't regret missing anything that would have come later in the future. In August 2002, when I first brought the idea of joining the Army to your attention, I knew it was the right decision. I can promise you that as I took my last breath, I still had no way regretted the decision that I had made. You both hesitated early on about my decision, if you were unsure, but in the end you were there for me and supported me. I love you so much for that. If you even think for a second to hold yourself responsible for the loss that our friends and family feel, you're wrong. This was my decision and my decision alone. It would have made me truly devastated knowing that either one of you felt responsible for ending my life and my journey through life. I can assure you that wherever I am now, I will be looking down upon you both and admiring what wonderful individuals you both are. I love you guys. I love you all both very much. So ladies and gentlemen, while styles change, while diction changes, courage will never go out of style in our United States military. The thoughts that were conveyed by Michael are the same thoughts that were conveyed by the warriors and the heroes that are listed on each and every one of these plaques. And so because of that, ladies and gentlemen, what I ask that you do today before you leave, take the time to read the names on the honored plaques behind me. Reflect upon the sacrifice and the service that they gave, whether they were someone who had a long life and lost theirs later in their career, or was just starting like Michael's. And for that, ladies and gentlemen, as you go home tonight, and as you pray to your God, I ask that you humbly thank Him that there are men and women that are willing to put themselves in the front lines, that are willing to put others before themselves, who are willing to put sacrifice and our country before their own future. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today. You honor the names of the individuals here on this plaque and those who have served in the military. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Major Avery.